Hello and welcome everyone. I am Dr. 𝐼𝐨𝐫𝐥𝐝 Senior Sub-Editor at Elets Technomedia, India's leading and largest B2B multimedia platform. And on behalf of Elets Technomedia and the Banking and Finance Post magazine, I extend a very warm welcome to all to our newest series, which is the Elets Fintech Dialogues, a running series which is in collaboration with the Department of Electronics, IT, Biotechnology and Science and Technology, Government of Karnataka. This exclusive series is an integral part of the upcoming World Fintech Summit, which is a 2-day premier event by Elets Technomedia that brings together the global fintech and BFSI community. From policymakers and industry leaders to innovators and key stakeholders, the summit fosters meaningful collaborations aimed at driving innovation and growth in financial services worldwide. We are honored to have the Department of Electronics, IT, Biotechnology, and Science and Technology, Government of Karnataka, as our host state partner, alongside the Karnataka Digital Economy Mission as our strategic partner for the World Fintech Summit. This Elets Fintech Dialogue series celebrates trailblazing leaders and innovators whose fintech driven initiatives are transforming lives and industries. And today we are privileged to host an inspiring entrepreneur who has been instrumental in revolutionizing the BFSI industry in India. It is an absolute pleasure to welcome Mr. Amit Sinha, co founder and COO of Castler. So, thank you so much for the show, for joining us at this show. Welcome.
Thank you, Savri, for having me. It's a pleasure and a great honor to be here with you folks and discuss amongst the peers and the colleagues about different things that we are going to pan out in this call. Yeah.
Great, thank you. So, for our audience, Mr. Amit Sinha is the co-founder and COO of Castler. He is a visionary fintech leader with over 2 decades of experience driving innovations across financial technology, digital payments, and cultural initiatives. Currently leading India's largest escrow platform, he is transforming transaction banking through strategic partnerships with top banks and cutting edge escrow solutions. With a proven track record of Razorpay, MobiWick, and the co founder of the Great Indian Film and Literature Festival, Mr. Amit Kumar combines deep industry expertise with high impact leadership, making him a sought after voice in fintech innovation, digital trust, and startup growth. So, once again, sir, thank you so much for joining us at this episode. It is truly an honor to have you with us. Let us get straight into the questions now. So we are very curious as to have your impressive career in fintech. We would like to know more that with leadership roles at Razorpay, MobiWick, and now Castler, what inspired your transition from traditional fintech to escrow banking, and what key lessons have shaped your journey, or the lessons that you feel were very valuable in your journey, and you would like to share that on this platform today.
Thank you, Savri. Thank you so much. So let me take a step back here. Before we delve into Razorpay and MobiQuick journey, I'll take a step back. A large part of my life has been like an entrepreneur. So I've been an entrepreneur earlier in my career for 10 years. Razorpay and MobiQuick, in a large way, it worked for me because they allowed me to work like an entrepreneur, think like an entrepreneur, and deliver like an entrepreneur. So it really, really worked for me. I think Razorpay, to its truer sense, gave me a lot of freedom, of course, with accountability, in order to ensure that whatever I thought after, or whatever I sought, I think I'll be, and whatever I had a perspective on, that perspective automatically got built into the organization. So I think large part of me treading into this journey owes to the first part where I started off as an entrepreneur. And of course, working with great leaders in Razorpay and MobiQuick, that also shaped a lot in terms of my understanding of the payments domain and looking for niches. So when I say niches, uh, typically in a payments platform, if you see, niches actually make money. They actually make real businesses. And that's where when MobiQuick and Razorpay happened, post Razorpay, I think I was there with them for almost 6 years with Razorpay. I was a look for an idea, and Vineet was my old friend, and we had worked together in MobiQuick also. And along with this, during my entrepreneurship days, I and Vineet go a long way back, which was almost year 2008-9, where we used to work with InfoEdge, which was Naukri.com, as partners with them to do a lot of content for them. So we knew each other for very long. I was in search of an idea, and I was, part of Castler from day one. in its true sense, in terms of shaping up the idea, discussing that, and all that. So eventually, when I was looking for an idea, Vineet said, why not? Let's work together here, and let's try to build a new franchise, which is an escrow. Escrow is a very niche business, and there was huge opportunity that we could see, and we could evangelize internally also. And then that's how we jumped on the bandwagon of Castler, and the journey all started.
Thank you so much, sir. So, while talking about Castler and its journey of building into that is redefining the escrow and transaction banking with its middleware solutions, what are the biggest pain points in the digital transactions industry that you identified that you thought that we need a solution to bridge those gaps and solve those pain points? And also, can you share about your work with this organization in solving them, differently?
Sure. So I think there are a lot of pain points. So if you'll see the journey from 2015 till today, I think digital transactions in India, they have grown humongously. Huge amount of digital transactions have grown, especially with UPI and a lot of other payment modes. It has grown increasingly. What it also means is that it has also increased frauds. It has also increased a lot of risk is also associated with these transactions. So I think the first point, which is the biggest one, is lack of transparency and trust, right? So that in itself calls for something like this, where people can be safeguarded with all these through an escrow mechanism. Then second is your banking infrastructure. I think banking infrastructure largely was fragmented, and try to assemble all of them, whether it was multiple banks, multiple systems, recons, treasury and transaction management, etc., etc. So all those under a single unified platform, that really helped. Then escrow setups in India, they were very time consuming. It used to take humongous amount of time. It used to take say 3, 4, 6 months. We tried to reduce the TAT considerably. Uh, then there were a lot of complexity. It used to be around regulations and compliances. So managing KYC, managing AML, managing regulatory norms for these large scale transactions, they were also a massive burden for organizations. And also I think the banks and the tech platforms, I think the integration was not so great. So these are largely legacy platforms on which banking systems are integrated. So how do we ensure that it's a cutting edge kind of technology? What we did differently, I think what we were able to create is we were able to create a middleware based escrow stack. Now Castler offers a stack which sits between businesses and multiple banks. This also enables the companies to manage digital escrow transactions instantly, right? So with smart rules, protocols built around this, and everything is around APIs. Now we have also an architecture which is a multi-bank architecture, which helps you connect into the entire banking universe with our kind of interface. All the workflows, we typically describe ourselves as a workflow automation, because escrow as a mechanism, it's a very complex structure. So we do a lot of workflow automations, and most of these workflow automations are API driven. So they help you in terms of integrate into the real time, into the customer's journey, and give them that kind of experience. We have automated in terms of KYC, AML, transaction monitoring tools on our platform itself, so that frauds are mitigated. And to top it all, we have built use case specific solutions, which have helped the customers to plug and play the entire module. So these are a few things. So in nutshell, if you would ask me, what we are doing, we are rebuilding trust in digital transactions by making complex, high volume, multi-party fund flows transparent, secure, and most importantly, programmable.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing that in such great detail. It is a relief to know that fraud prevention and transaction security is in the structural model of Castler and has been the main focus alongside since the beginning. So you also covered this question as well alongside. But what we are very curious to know next is personalization with the advent of AI and emerging technologies. Personalization and hyper personalization in the financial services has been a big part and has been getting adopted very frequently and has been also getting appreciated from the buyer's side. So, how is Castler utilizing that? If you can, talk a little bit more about that, and also the different ways industry can adopt personalization to improve the entire, seamlessness of the business, the seamlessness of, the usage. We would love to know your thoughts on the same.
Sure. That's a great question. I think people who don't leverage technology, uh, in due course of time, they'll die. So AI is that kind of innovation, which requires cognizance, which requires understanding, and which requires a fact that to understand the fact that how you can tailor your requirements to ensure that you are optimizing not only your cost but also the product that you're giving to your customers. A large part of our uses pertaining to AI is our kind of model. It sits on a complexity of an agreement, right? Now, what we have done is we have tried to create a product internally, which is a docs product, which is Castler Docs. What it does is we have feeded all the agreements into the LLM, and say for example, you get into an agreement with me for delivering a business, right? Now that document in itself is a 150-page document. To understand the complexity, now today if I ask you to look for a clause in the agreement, you will have to pan through the entire 150 pages, and then probably you'll come with that kind of argument that probably this is what we need to deliberate on. What my solution is able to deliver is they'll give you exactly, say for example, what is indemnity clause, right there itself, what is the terms and conditions, because this is where the whole heart of the escrow resides, right? So the agreements, so escrow agreement is the source of truth for, so we've leveraged AI in terms of managing the entire agreement and the contract life cycle, so which you typically say CLC in a lot many ways, and leverage to that to an extent where we are internally able to use that, consume that, and of course offer it to future customers of ours in due course of time. So that is still the product under work in progress, but internally we are using it, we are evangelizing it, and we are seeing that in times to come this product will be a great fitment to a lot of complex organizations and complex arrangements as we move forward.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing that. So, with over 600 enterprises and 12 plus banking partners, Castler has famously grown on a very rapid scale. So, one, we would be very curious to know what challenges were faced while during, experiencing this growth while onboarding banks and businesses. How did you overcome them? Also the secrets of such enormous growth in limited period of time. We would also be curious to know that, both the things.
I think every business comes with a lot of challenges, and if you ponder over a new idea, if you start building on the idea, I think it entails all this. So that is something which is already ingrained in the ecosystem. So when we started off with this, I think first problem that we faced, and I'll give you a real example. The first bank that we integrated, it took us almost 8 9 months to integrate because they were not sure about us. What are we trying to build? But once that was done, I think next host of other banks, it took probably not more than a year to get other banks in line. So the first is always difficult. So I think it was more on a reluctance perspective from the banking and the financial institutions. But the good part is once they accept you, then probably they'll help you a lot in terms of today only I wrote something that you have. I mean, typically in a fintech industry, if you have to grow in a kind of setup which is India, you have to think like a bank and you have to move like a startup, right? So that's been a ethos of what we have been trying to build here at Castler. So I think the first was a little bit of bank's reluctance initially, and later on it became really really cakewalk. Then second was getting our enterprises on board because they typically work on a legacy platform, and to shift them to something which is absolutely API driven, it took some doing for us to convert them. Also to understand the specific business models, offer the specific solutions around that. I think giving them APIs and no code options. So also showing them how we can act at a speed at a certain execution level to give them that kind of experience. Then escrow as an arrangement, it involves a multi-party kind of arrangement, right? So balancing all of them so that you can protect the interest of every party. So probably whether it's a bank, it's a business, or it's a last mile user, I think. And since it's all in a heavily regulated space, it's very complex. So to get to an arrangement where everybody works in tandem and works towards building that kind of modular flexible stack, I think that really helps. I think focusing on transparency, it really helped. I think so giving them real time dashboard, giving them fund visibility, giving them the entire audit trail, I think it boosted the confidence of our stakeholders. And most importantly, businesses, I think which they should do most often is that work on a feedback mechanism, right? So we worked on a feedback mechanism very regularly, been in touch with the clients, and that loop was so strong that helped us build the network effect eventually to reach out to more and more customers. So I think these are few things which I feel that probably that helped us usher our way into what we have today. I think it's a long way to go still, but yeah, this has been a journey so far.
Thank you so much for sharing with us. So we got to know that Castler has recently raised 6 million in pre-seed A funding from prominent investors. How does the company plan to leverage its funding to drive product innovation, customer acquisition, and market leadership? And also congratulating Castler for this amazing round of funding that they've raised.
I think, so the funding that we received largely was owed to two, three things. One was largely to build the current revenue numbers to a substantial level, which we have been able to grow and outgrow in last couple of years. I think we have grown almost 15-20 times in terms of the overall capabilities, in terms of revenues in last 2 years. So I think that in itself is a proof of concept that this funding that we have got from InfoEdge, from Flipkart, from Zerodha, from IIFL, I think to leverage it to such a way where we can double down on infrastructure, double down on human resources to increase and accelerate our ambitions. Along with product innovation, what we have also done is we have also added different business lines subsequently, because the customer segment was almost similar. So what we have been able to do is we have been able to offer them different kind of products built around the same mechanism. Just to give you a little bit of sense of that. So we have recently started 8 months back. We started with a product called Software Escrow. Now it was a blessing in disguise. We reached out to same set of customers who were typically a BFSI customer. We didn't knew, honestly, we didn't knew that this is actually a mandated product by RBI, by SEBI, by RDI, and we, it was just by chance that we encountered into this. Once we encountered into this, then we realized, oh, that's a tremendous opportunity which is sitting there, right? It's a mandated product, and we started reaching out to banks, to financial institutions, to regulated entities, and they accepted this with open hands. But we didn't sit idle just because typically in a software escrow product, this is more like a physical drive that that is secured in a vault. So we thought that why not build on this idea and build a cloud native product. So we did global benchmarking, try to understand globally what's happening, and we built India's first cloud native product, which was software escrow product. That is India's first and world's third. So there are two other companies who in the world do it, and with this we started going to the market, and it helped us pervade the market really effectively, and the impact has been humongous to an extent that we have been received by these kind of customers in a very earnest way, and trying to solutionize, trying to solve for their problems. I think these are few things where we are utilizing funding. In terms of, I think you asked a question about global ambitions also, if I'm not mistaken, right? So right now we are little focused on India market, but yes, sooner or later we'll get into, so the same model that we have here, we'll try to replicate it in different geographies. So Middle East can be one area where we can look for expansion. North America, I think escrow in terms of searches, they have got a huge amount of searches there. So definitely there's a big opportunity that we see, but that also entails to understand the law of the land in those countries, and accordingly set the organizations around that. So these are few concerns that we are working on, but yes, definitely from a global ambition perspective we are working towards it. But the first focus right now is more on domestic productization, and how do we leverage more and more on this.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing that in such great detail. So we come down to the very end of our discussion. We have two more questions for you before we let you go. One of the questions is that the audience that we have on Elets Fintech Dialogues are divided majorly into three segments. One are budding entrepreneurs themselves who are looking up to you this series to gain insights and information into the industry, the gaps, and the opportunities that they themselves can leverage in the fintech space. Another set of audience is from governance and policymakers side who watch this series. So if you have any thoughts or suggestions for how to make this industry better, what are the visible gaps that should be built into, or what kind of opportunities private builders can offer to make everything more seamless in India, that's also very welcome. Third are the entrepreneurs themselves, like you and other organizations that are working into this space, but want to know about the updates of the other organizations and everything, and watch our series. So, for all three segments, if there were any thoughts that you would like to voice out through this platform, or any advice or suggestions that you would want to share with us and the audience in terms of digital payments, compliance, scaling in India, or any of your thoughts that you would wanted to voice out, what would those be?
Thank you. I think I'm too naive to answer this, but still I'll try and attempt. I believe I'm still a learner of fintech. I'm learner of compliance. I'm learner of escrow banking as a platform. But still, I'll try and give it a chance. I think the first thing that I said was, if you remember, that build like a bank and move like a startup, right? So that's one very important piece of advice. And you have to lead with compliance, not as an afterthought, right? So you have to align very, very clearly with the regulations, with the KYC, with the AML, and with the data localization. So I think these things are very, very important if you want to build any business which is into this arena, specifically talking about fintech or tech fin kind of ecosystem. I think start investing in compliance architecture from day one. So be it your audit logs, your controls, your reporting, all of that put together. Build relationships with regulators, advisors, policy, because lot depends and on how the public advocacy also shapes up, especially that if you're trying to get into an arena where a new business line or a new interest area has to be generated. Focus has to be largely on trust. I mean, should not just focus, because that's the most important currency that you will be able to epitomize in future. So not just focused on pure vanilla transactions. I think design for transparency, design for user control, I think, and build features around that. Also, I think it's important that you pick a very clear niche. So when I said, niches has to be picked, and niches actually make money in due course of time. So it has to be very, very clear that how you pick those niches and how do you validate, iterate, and create playbooks around that in those niches. Also, it's important that you build the ecosystem relationship, whether it's a bank, whether it's a trusteeship, whether it's NPCI, whether it's RBI, ONDC, etc., etc. So you have to build that kind of ecosystem relationships pretty early in your life cycle if you really want to, build something which is of use to people. Uh, our consumers are very, very smart enough, technologically advanced. So I think being API first, it's really, really helps, and being modular. So how this entire thing can be platform, you can just shape it into a platform. I think that's very, very important. It should be easy to integrate. It should be configurable. It should be scalable also at the same time. Few mistakes that I believe that you should try to avoid. You should try to avoid regulatory nuance, because regulator very clearly says one thing, that we tell you zero, we tell you one. Okay, you don't try to figure out two. So you should focus on zero or one. Don't try anything. Anything which is in gray should not be done. So that's very clear mandate from the regulator. So I think, and that's a great piece of advice that they. I mean, it is not something that I am telling you. It is something which is coming from them. I'm just passing on to the budding entrepreneurs who really want to build something on a fintech. Don't try to overbuild, right? People are so, you just so passionate about your whole idea, right? You try to overbuild without getting the proof of the concept, without understanding the product market fit. So go step by step. Try to build in a sequential manner. Don't go over the board. Also, I think technical debts are a big problem for organizations. So don't create unnecessary technical debts. If you're overbuilt, you'll create unnecessary technical debt, which will create infrastructure problems for you. So if you see, playbook of large companies like Stripe or a Adyen or a Razorpay, I think they work on a different way. So the first level of a tech stack is that tech stack is little haywire, but as soon as they move into the platform level play, they ensure that tech stack is closely looped, right? So that the pitfalls are minimized. I think that's very important. So when you start the journey, you might be loose, but when you just enter into a product market fit, you should try to tighten the grip in terms of technical capabilities. And I think one thing is very important whenever you are trying to build something which is new, which is niche, is that you can't underplay the customer support. You can't underplay education. You can't underplay awareness. So these things are very important, and customers need that handholding. So whether it's a support, whether it's a onboarding, whether it's a anything of that sort, you need to handhold your customers. So I think what I wrote on LinkedIn, I'll just end with this line on this: that in Indian fintech, your real moat is regulatory clarity, execution speed, and user trust. Technology is an enabler here.
Thank you so much for sharing. We're already loving this conversation so far. I wish we had endless time to go on and not let you go back to your organization and to the work. But we will just ask two more questions. One for the industry, which is given India's rapid fintech revolution that we are in, where do you see the escrow banking sector heading in the next 5 years? What are your thoughts, not just next 5 years, I believe in next 2 years to 5 years, and how will regulatory changes that are going on in UPI blockchain impact digital escrow services according to you?
So again, let's go back in time. So again, a lot of things are also a byproduct of what you envisage, what you think, what you plan. It has to be coupled with destiny, and I'm a firm believer of that. So and destiny plays a very important role. Now I'll give you a few examples. So escrow as a ecosystem, when we pondered on the idea, I think the first step that we heard from the regulators or the people who were at the helm of the affairs was PAPG guidelines. Now, typically on a PAPG guidelines, the money earlier used to sit in a nodal account. Now, with the new guidelines, it became very evident that the money will now sit in an escrow. It was not something we did anything about it, right? It was something that regulator thought about, and they made sure that the money, which is typically a consumer's money, can't be owned by anyone. It has to lie in a neutral third party account. So it was, again, by chance it happened, and there was a regulation around that, which was a PAPG regulation. Then cut to again 1-2 years later, there was a SEBI circular which says that all the stockbrokers or the mutual fund houses, so mutual fund brokers, they can't take money directly into them. So the money has to lie in a neutral third party account where the money has to move from there, right? So again, the users of escrow already increased, the TAM increased, the SOM increased. So it's all happened automatically. We did nothing about it. Then, moving further, then came DLG guidelines, which was digital lending guidelines. So they clearly said, and there was a big Chinese lending fiasco in India, and government came heavily on that, and they ensured that the money from lender to borrower and from borrower to lender, right? So that's a clear path. So there has to be no one in between. The money has to be collected in an escrow, and the money has to be disbursed from the escrow. So that's again one of the regulations which came eventually. Also, I think from a market perspective, if you'll see, a lot of awareness needs to be created around different kind of solutions. Today also, Indian market typically has a very traditional mindset when it comes to creating that sort of infrastructure, especially with escrow as a mechanism. So escrow, in earlier days, it used to be used for, not earlier, I would say probably for the last 10-15 years, RERA is a big use case for escrow. But again, RERA is a mandated product, right? So it's mandated by the regulator, which is a real estate regulatory authority of that particular state. and the money lies in a neutral third party account, and it moves in a certain ratio as and when the work is completed. Same for trust and retention accounts, which is typically a function of big energy conglomerates like Power Grid or REC. They work on a TRA kind of model where waterfalls have to be created, and that money also resides in escrow. Now, moving from there to a common uses, right? So, what we have been able to do is we have been able to move the needle a little bit, not on a heavy consumer side, but also move to a side which was untouched, which was daily, which was routine. So, we play into a B2B kind of ecosystem, but the game is that that B2B eventually impacts the consumer who is at the end of this journey, right? So a lot of infrastructure around that. So giving you a sense of it, say for example, marketplace. Now everybody is not an Amazon or a Myntra or a Flipkart that people would trust them, right? So for them to create that kind of infra where the money resides in an escrow till the time a certain goods and services are delivered, that makes a great moat for the consumers, right? For them to go to the consumers and say, boss, till the time we will deliver you, because typically you will not trust. So a lot of companies which has come on a D2C level after COVID, and people land on Instagram, people land on different WhatsApp messages, and that redirects them to a website which they have never heard of, and probably the product is great, you want to buy it, but what to do, you don't realize that this product probably aayega ki nahi aayega, right? So that faith in itself. So if that is layered by escrow, I think you will have that trust that the platform guarantees you that money will be there in the escrow till the time your goods and services are delivered. I think that will add a lot of value and dimension to the overall scheme of thoughts. So I think it's a huge opportunity that I see in terms of escrow as an offering. But escrow standalone, I think with the entire transaction banking management ecosystem, the entire CRM in itself is a huge opportunity. It's more than 250 billion opportunity only in India, just sitting only in India. So whether it's a super enterprise, so just giving you an example, say for example, if you are a super enterprise, you have n number of escrow accounts, you have n number of current accounts. Now for you to manage and toggle between those accounts, you have to get into a net banking every single time. Now what my platform does is, my platform, you just log into my platform with a single ID and a password, a OTP comes, you can see all your accounts, whether it's a escrow, whether it's a current account, under a single unified dashboard, right? Through APIs. So you don't have to go anywhere. Say for example, 200 accounts kisi ke paas hai. It becomes a nightmare for them to manage, right? So what we do is we help you combine all those things together, and on top of that, the entire transaction tools, the monitoring system, the reporting system, the AML checks, so all that sit on top of that. So basically more like a intelligence layering. So that creates more avenues. Plus, I think the business line that we've started with, which is software escrow, that adds another dimension, another, I think, nothing less than probably a 10 billion, 15 billion kind of opportunity globally with a software escrow product, because that doesn't stop us to be global, right? So from India also I can deliver that product. So that's a product which typically doesn't have to be, and it is not regulated. It is not something where I have to abide by norms of a regulator. I have to abide by the basic certifications, the basic securities that has to be in place. Say for example, ISO, say for example, a CERT, say for example, a SOC 2. So all these certifications put in place. I can go to any market. I can cater to any market. Most of the markets, probably one or two markets would have different certifications. We can get those done and we can offer our. So that can be a great product to get into other arenas, other countries, other dimensions, other geographies, and probably leverage that kind of. So I think it's a huge opportunity overall. If you see, I think the idea is that we get to a opportunity size and also on a revenue stream grow probably 20-25 times in next 2 years. That's what we are entailing, and that's what we propose to our investors, to our communities who are our angel investors also. I think that's the vision that we have. I think and probably by 2030 grow this into a 1,000 crore franchise. The good part is that we are a gross margin company. We are not a gross revenue company. So whatever money that we earn, typically out of that money, 80 rupees is mine. So that's the gross revenue that I have in every single business that I do. So I think that calls for and focus on profitability, because a lot has been done in the past where a lot of venture capital has been they have gone haywire, they have been spent uselessly. I think our focus, and since we are little mature founders, we think from a different lens. We don't believe in burning money. We believe in a concept that how frugal you can get and how soon you can make money to your shareholders. So that's the focus that we have. So I think, say for example, 1,000 crore, if you'll be doing around this kind of gross revenue, then probably we'll be making at EBITDA around 30-35%. So that's in some second, what you've asked for. So that's my answer to the question. Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir, for answering that in such detail. So, as we are running very short on time, but this is a traditional question that we ask on all the leaders that come to our show is, uh, one piece of information that you can share exclusively for our audience that hasn't been shared on any other platform yet. Any upcoming project, anything that you can reveal exclusively for our audience here at Elets Fintech Dialogues that hasn't been shared very quickly, if you can share something.
So just a quick one. So share something what Kassler is doing or something else.
Yes, about Kassler, upcoming things, whatever you can reveal.
So I think a lot of things I can share. It's nothing that. So one is we are coming with a new product, which is typically a connected banking product, very soon, which will ensure that the entire banking layer is traversed with our platform. So that's one thing that we are doing, and we are trying to extend it as much as possible to different banks and to different enterprises so that they can leverage our suite and give us more feedback how to improve and how to get better.
Great. Thank you so much. With that, we had an amazing conversation with Mr. Amit Sinha, co-founder and COO of Kassler. So thank you so much for, the brilliant insights that you shared with us today. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And we would also like to thank our audience for staying with us till the very end. If you have any questions for Kassler or for Mr. Amit, leave those in the comments down below. We will get back to you with responses from him. Also, if you have any suggestions for the great leaders that are working in this space you would like to have on our platform, leave those suggestions in the comments again. We will make sure to have them with us on the next episode. With that, stay informed with us on the latest financial technologies. Bye-bye. Thank you.